Hey everyone, Michelle Sadling here with another episode of Food Experience Unplugged. In today's episode, we'll explore the role of food and wellness choices in overcoming anxiety. Here to help us do that is Patricia Barray, a functional medicine health coach. This podcast is available on multiple platforms, including YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and others, as well as our website at foodexperienceunplugged.com. Please be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform for new content as it becomes available. Please also check out our website at foodexperienceunplugged.com for some free resources as you begin your health journey. Patricia Barray, welcome to Food Experience Unplugged.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
We are so happy to have you as a functional medicine health coach, and just your broad array of experiences with, in our topic today, anxiety, but and I'm sure other functional medicine aspects as well. So we're excited to have you here today.
That's amazing. I hope what we talk about help people as well.
Absolutely. I think it will. Anxiety is unfortunately a prevalent thing nowadays. And but we can talk about steps to overcome it. But to get started, will you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us, what brought you to this point in your life and in your career?
Yeah, so I actually studied tourism. I hope I don't get very long.
No.
So I studied tourism on the university. And what I liked it was, being with people, with clients. And so I realized I went to a trip for 2 months on Thailand. And I realized there are some things and some not very healthy ways that I was, treating my body and my health, like the food, my thoughts, my anxiety. And I just started with food and healthy food and well-being and wellness and things like that. And I got very, very, I realized that was my passion. But I wanted to put together the passion that I have for helping people and being with people together with health and well-being, how I help myself, and how, this information and this compassionate and compassionate way that coaching is, I really enjoyed it. And I'm very happy that I came to this point and then I found my passion, which I think is what I do now.
Oh, that is fantastic. And coming from tourism, so how was that transition, and kind of, I guess why the transition into functional medicine from tourism?
Yeah. So in general was my own health. So tourism, as you can imagine, it's very stressful, and there is no self-care, there is no time for yourself. Obviously it can be different in every business, in every country, for sure, but I had a lot of stress, and I have anxiety, back problems, bruxism, and I was starting to couldn't sleep. I had insomnia, and I just needed to address that, and I couldn't take it longer, so I just decided to know more about it. And while I was there working, I usually work in 5-star hotels. In my environment was not the same as I wanted, and I was even working in wellness there as well. So, but then I just decided that I needed a change, and that I needed to jump into my dream, and that's what I did.
Sure, absolutely. Wow. So it was, ironically, you were mentioning you were working in wellness, but yet your own wellness wasn't in the mix, so to speak, I guess. So,
exactly.
Wow. So, and then that trip to Thailand really got you thinking more about your own health then?
Yeah. So I was also having, family problems, which lead to the anxiety that I had. And I just realized that I was always studying, working. I was asking a lot of myself, and I was not giving myself time. So when you have time, I've been 2 months without doing anything and just visiting things and going to the beach and knowing, new food, new culture. Then it pops to your head. Like, it was like, wow, I just stopped from a lot of years what is this? So that's what happened there. Yeah.
Okay. So you had a lot of time to reflect on your
Yeah.
own, what you want to do and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Wow. And it's just been wonderful going, with then you did, once you came back, then you started your study, your functional medicine studies. And
Yeah, I had to do it first I did not pop into functional medicine right away. I
Sure.
was starting with food and well-being and things like, and supplements and things like that. And that just led me to that.
Okay.
It took me a few months.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's fantastic that you're really, really focusing from your own journey and from your own experience. I love that. So now anxiety, what do I mean, there's of course the dictionary definitions and so forth, but in a nutshell, I guess, what do we mean by anxiety?
I will try to explain it the best way I can. So it's like a wave of emotions and sensations that feels very overwhelming. It can be, so some of the symptoms that obviously not everyone has, and not even in the same time you have those, but it can be excessive worrying, it can be overthinking, it can be headaches, chest pain, fear of losing control. There are like obsessive thoughts, overthinking, like there are a lot of symptoms that comes with anxiety. And so you can have also panic attacks and anxiety attacks, but just keeping it short, it's a lot of emotions that comes to worry, fear, and that you may have anxiety because you've been experiencing this fear and stress for a long time, and that is when anxiety comes. And anxiety sometimes is telling you it's a way of your body to communicate to you that it needs. And we should listen to anxiety and say, okay, what do I need? Do I need to rest? Do I need to relieve tension? So that it is the way of anxiety telling us that our body needs something.
Sure. And like you said, everybody's different. People may not necessarily have all of those symptoms or so how did you mentioned that you yourself went through anxiety for a while. How did you what was your anxiety reaction, and then, how did you come to address those situations?
So basically all of the symptoms that I mentioned, more or less, was there obviously not every day or not all the time, but it's a mix. So I realized that I didn't know that was anxiety till I informed myself, and then when I saw that what anxiety was, I was like, this is what is happening. I'm not going crazy. I understand myself, and when I could understood myself, then it comes the self-compassion way to understand it. For sure, I went to a psychologist, and also with habits that I took and I take very seriously as a part of my self-care, and I do every day or almost every day. And once it's out of balance, the anxiety comes again. So it is very important to keep those healthy habits for me. That's what helped me.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Now, how does having anxiety, how do you feel that affects your decisions, what goals or what activities you're going to work on? How does anxiety really help, affect you, take its toll on you, so to speak?
So all of those symptoms, of course, always are difficult in our decision making. One that it's a big one is overthinking. When we need to do when we need to make decisions. So, for example, also not trusting your own opinion, because overthinking leads to you looking for all of the options, right? All of the positive sides, all the negative sides, which I like. I think is very responsible to do that. But sometimes it can be overwhelming. So sometimes when you think about, it can be, an example can be when you want to buy something, when you want to buy a pool float, and you want to buy the perfect one, and you look for all of the options that you have, and you take 30 minutes for you to look all the good options, and then it is a $10 decision. But and even you can ask for another person opinion, because you don't really, you see all the possible options. So that's a big one that I can think of. Another one that I can think is that sometimes people that have anxiety don't breathe properly. I'm not saying in the anxiety attack, which is normal, but in our daily basis, we ask myself, we don't really take the breath, the full breath. So I don't want to talk in general. Some people with anxiety don't really breathe properly. So when you don't do that, your parasympathetic system and your sympathetic system goes out of balance. And sometimes that comes with irritability or emotional reactivity. So sometimes we are in a fight or flight mood, and we don't even know, and we don't act the way that we would like to act if we were in balance, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yes, it does. So basically you're just you take on almost like a different mental state. You're a state of stress versus a state of calmness and focus. So absolutely. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So, and that I'm grateful that you were able to kind of work through those situations, and I'm sure the time away on your Thailand vacation just kind of helped to alleviate some of that stress and rebalance your system.
Yeah,
Did you
for
feel
sure.
like it did?
For sure. The only thing is that now I really understand people with anxiety now in the situation, and especially when we are in countries that the lockdown was very restrictive, when we couldn't go outside, and people maybe don't have terrace and things like that, and going outside for nature or just to the sun is super important for people with anxiety. So that's something that now it's kicking in a lot of people, and it's normal, and we have to understand that.
Yes, definitely. I mean, absolutely, situations have different stress reactions, and absolutely. So now, from a food and wellness perspective, what are some challenges that people face when they're, they've got anxiety, but when they have that, what are some food and wellness challenges that really, that they're trying to move forward, but that then they may have some challenges?
The food challenge that I can think, and that's common in people with anxiety, is the overeating or the emotional eating. So sometimes when we feel this anxiety kicking in or these symptoms, we want to mask or avoid or like numb these sensations. And sometimes when we eat food that we like, we get good sensations. So we mask. Some people try to mask that, or maybe we are eating, but we are like, I don't know, thinking or being in the present, which that's what anxiety is. It's not being in the present moment and just thinking, okay, this is my plate. Okay, I'm doing this. So if we are in 400 so sometimes that can lead to overeating. And obviously it's something to, notice the sensations and try to do something about it. It can be calling a friend, it can be go for a walk, it can be doing your hobby, be with your children or your nephews or your friends. And it's something to work on as well. So that's a challenge that I can think of.
From a food and wellness perspective, what things have worked for you in terms of curbing your anxiety, either minimizing it or you mentioned it's kind of a struggle for you from time to time, but what things have worked for you?
For me personally, it worked a lot. Meditation, that's a big one. That's a very big one. Exercising, that's another big one. And I was eating good in a certain point, which that led to less anxiety. But also coaching helped me. Like I have my own coach, so that's good. Also, gratitude journaling helped me. It's a very easy action. But when we are always being negative or thinking about the all the possible ways that things can go wrong, or just being realistic, that doesn't matter. But we kind of forget about the positive things the things that we are grateful in life. So that it's very easy thing to do, and I do it every day. So I just for example, can I tell you my morning routine so you more or less know?
Absolutely. I'd love to hear your morning routine.
So I don't do it 7 days. So I don't do the whole week, but I do like 5 times, and other things in the other 2 days that it's weekend. I still do things, but a regular day will be like I'm gonna say the key things, but just like a bit of yoga and stretching. It's also going for a run, which I like, and then I meditate, do the gratitude journaling, and then I set the things that I'm going to do that day, because one thing of anxiety is that we want to do 400 things, and our day is 24 hours. So just be realistic with 2-3 things that I can do that day. There are key things that I have to do, and I like to listen to things that give me joy. That doesn't have to be very different, but listening to your favorite show or podcast or whatever that gives you happiness. So, and just having some drops of joy and self-care in your day helps me a lot.
Absolutely, yes, throughout the day. So now you have drops of joy with your morning routine. So what about the rest of the day? What do you have a routine? Now that little block there was your morning routine. Do you have a routine for the rest of the day?
No, I routine no, but I do have things that I like to add if I can, like reading a book or talking. Communication for me is a big thing. Communicating with my partner, telling what is concerning me, because I don't know, for some people helps journaling, or some people helps talking, but for me, talking and getting to a point is not in my head, so I can just communicate, and that doesn't stay here. And what are other things? I don't know, I just like to just cook. I love to cook. And do new recipes. So just things that I like, and obviously I can meditate again in the afternoon, and I can do other things, not looking at my phone, and do some reading at night. But at the end, it's just things that are just going to concentrate your energy in something that you like.
Sure.
That's important.
Okay, excellent. Now on your note of cooking, so have you always enjoyed cooking?
No. I'm not a very expert or anything like that. I just like to eat, and I like to do new things. It's not like the normal. I'm gonna make lunch. I'm gonna enjoy making lunch. Is that when I have time and I have a new recipe, and I am and I am excited about that recipe, and I just have time to do it, and I like to do it with someone else as well, and something different. It's connecting to your values is very important. That's why coaching, it's an exercise of self-awareness, the things that you forgot that you like. For example, baking takes me to when I was a child, when I was mixing all the things in all the creams and all the things in a plate. And that's what I like about baking, because I can mix and mix and mix, and and so yeah, just doing the things that you value and that you enjoy. That's my advice.
Okay, so you've grown. So over the years, you mentioned you didn't always like cooking, but baking you did from a child.
Yeah.
So
I think I just like chocolate.
or an excuse to eat chocolate. That's fantastic. You don't really need an excuse. You can eat chocolate anytime you want,
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, but now on the cooking side, how did you mentioned you didn't always enjoy it. What was your experiences growing up, and how did that change as you've gotten older and
Mhm.
gotten into the functional medicine and other things?
So my mother didn't really cook, and I live with my mother, so I didn't have the habit or the model of like
Mhm.
cooking. And my
Okay.
mother always said, I hate to cook. So I had like that there.
Ah, yes.
But when I started to live um, outside of my mother's house, and I
Mhm.
needed to make lunch and make my own food. So at the beginning, I was keeping it very simple,
Mm,
but then when I started to enjoy um, like healthy food, I
mm.
I was like, oh, how can I make these amazing dishes that I used to like in a way that they are healthy and
Okay.
they're yummy? So that's what changed.
Okay. So you kind of were self-taught, or did you pick up that knowledge base from, from, I don't know, cooking classes or other people around you or anything?
Just myself and YouTube and Instagram. So I'm nothing expert or good or anything. I actually like to make easy recipes,
Mm.
but I just like to make them.
What are some of your favorite things to make?
Brownie.
Okay.
I love brownie. I have like four types of different recipes that I can make, and I like banana bread, and I also like flapjacks, mango flapjacks. It's
Oh,
not very, I make it, some of them I can make them paleo and gluten free and things like that.
yeah.
So I those is the ones that I like most.
Okay. So from a meal perspective, lunch or dinner or whatever. So what are some things that you enjoy cooking with regard to that?
I Everything that is new to me. But one dish that I'm actually liking a lot is sweet potatoes with onion, lettuce. What else does it have? Like pumpkin seeds and quinoa. I think. I think that's
Okay.
it. I love that.
Oh,
And tahini sauce.
oh yes. So very
I like
good.
that one right now. I'm making
Ah,
that a lot.
okay, that sounds fantastic. I will be over there in a few minutes so you have something made up, okay?
You're welcome if you come here.
Oh, so with your cooking, your baking, how do you feel that that is helping to alleviate or prevent anxiety? How is that helping you from a health perspective?
I think it's just I'm focused
Mhm.
on what I'm doing, and I'm that way. I'm thinking about the um, the quantities and the ingredients and da da da, and I'm not thinking about anything else. So that's something that is just directly. It's just like making you concentrate and being mindful. If that
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay. So you're more mindful of kind of what you're putting into your body, things of that nature. So do you feel are there, skills that you're learning that you feel are helpful in other aspects of your life? Uh,
Yeah. Um, One big thing that I changed and that I'm still changing and is the emotional reactivity
Mm,
um, part of everything. So sometimes, as one of the symptoms, it can be irritability, excessive worrying, and things like that. So it is, or one of the disorders that someone can have is also social anxiety. So
okay.
you think if someone is being a bit different with you or something like that, some people can think, "Ah, they don't like me anymore, or they think I did this, or they think that they that." And so obviously it's something that it is, you should go and ask and be treated for with a professional. But
Mhm.
just for me, trying to breathe and think about the need that I'm having at the moment, and think about the next action that I really want to make, and not the one that I will do straight away, is the big thing that I'm working, and that I'm still working on it.
Okay. Now, from a food perspective, are there different foods, or are there different eating habits that you've taken on that you've found to help anxiety?
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about three things. Not about what we should eat, but what we should reduce, or consider reduce it or eliminate. Three big things are alcohol, caffeine, and sugar. So alcohol, obviously, for a lot of reasons, is not the best or food in the world, but it's something to to consider, because it just the neurotransmitters in your brain changes, and that makes you feel more depressed after the day that you drink, and that's one thing. Caffeine as well. It obviously, for some people, they can be more nervous and have more increased anxiety, and it also decrease the endorphins. So the good feeling, basically the good feeling chemical that we have, and it is a good idea to reduce it to 1 cup a day if you tolerate it, and the others, you can do some decaf, or change it for another beverage that you want, and if you can eliminate it slowly, that's great, especially if you are in a crisis. It's not a good idea to drink coffee when you are having more anxiety.
Sure. Absolutely.
And sugar, just like it's like a roller coaster for your blood sugar, and your anxiety can spike from a lot of. It doesn't have to be a big amount, but for big amount of sugar, not just regular sugar like white sugar, but other types of sugar that they call other names, but it's still the same for your body. And also added sugar in things that we don't think they have sugar, they do. So obviously, that depending on where the person is starting from, their starting place, it's something to look for and to consider reducing it with time, and as a lifestyle change. And as you said, making your own food at home, and sweeten it with natural things like dates or ripe bananas and things like that, it can still be funny.
Sure, absolutely. So I love that. So with you mentioned, because you like to bake a lot as well as cook, or what things have you done to, either eliminate or at least minimize the sugars? What modifications, whether with baking or even in cooking sometimes?
Yeah, so obviously I can say what I do, but I don't expect, and people don't have to do the same or a certain way, because it's a change that you do with time. So my rule is that I don't buy anything, let's say ultra processed on my house. So I don't have any kind of sugar at all
Sure.
at home. So I just, obviously my taste change. That's what happens when you stop eating sugar with time. So now things that are with a lot of sugar, it tastes weird for me. So I just replace it with like I say, my case with ripe bananas or dates, or some dried apricots, or things like that. And that's what I do. I think sugar and caffeine. I didn't really drink alcohol. I don't drink alcohol, but usually. But I did reduce caffeine a lot when we were in lockdown, and that really helped me a lot.
Okay. And using alternative foods, like the dried fruits or things like that in place of the sugar, was that a kind of a process for you to understand what works and what doesn't?
Yeah, it is it is a long process, and again, depending on the people, the person's health problems or just type of whatever they are, because some people, they cannot tolerate sugar at all, and some people do a bit. Sugar is not good for you in any, like the artificial sugar is not good for you in any way. But so if that, for example, I come from eating disorders, so I don't like to say you cannot have that, because then that comes the obsession. So when I'm outside of my house and I go to a restaurant and I want to have a piece of cake, I eat it, and that's fine. But at home, I just enjoy just looking for recipes that I like and just make time and do it on the weekends. And obviously, I don't fool myself with a lot of sweets, even though if they're healthy. But yeah, it is a process. It took me. I don't know how long, but it took me months. And it's always changing, depending on your where you are in that moment, and the world is in that moment. So it's just for me is a process of self-compassionate, and it just means self-compassion with ourselves and understand our needs, and also at the same time being healthy, and that means also balance.
Sure, absolutely. I love that, how you're just really, balancing the health aspect with, maybe every once in a while having a treat, or things like that. But cooking, I love the fact that you enjoy cooking and you're really focused on, trying new things, or, just different foods. So that's fantastic. And how you've all of these things, so they've really helped to curb your anxiety, you think?
Yeah, for sure. I think I changed a lot, and I think from a year ago, I think I'm another person.
Okay.
I'm more self-aware, and I can know more the signs and how can I treat myself different, depending on. And obviously, what this happened is a bit overwhelming.
Okay.
But since we are not in lockdown, and we kind of at least here, and we kind of like process what was happening, I was very good, and then that came a bit, and now I am again another person. So with all the things with self-care, it's super important just to take care of yourself. So these habits really help me, and still help me with anxiety.
Okay, that's fantastic. Now, what are some steps that people who are just getting started and take from a food and wellness perspective to really try to overcome that anxiety?
So I think the best way, or three things that we can choose. So meditation or breathing exercises. So if meditation doesn't work for the person, they can just try a breathing exercise, which just takes 1 minute or 2 minutes, and it can just change your whole mindset and your whole state. So that's one thing. And a resource that I can recommend are just download meditation app. I like Insight Timer, and that's something that people can give a try and just start very, very small, even 3 minutes. That even change your mindset. Another thing that I can recommend is exercising. Okay. I highly recommend exercising for tension, for releasing the tension, but we need to be careful not to overtrain, which also is a cause for anxiety. And another thing people can consider is to go to nature. Okay. And if they can exercise outdoors in nature, that's lovely.
Okay, so going out into nature, are you talking about hiking or what specifically?
Yeah, so whatever. Obviously, hiking, it's amazing, but something that we can do a few times per week, or even every day, like if you live near a forest, or like a park, or the beach, or something like that, that's great. And if you live in a city, the times that you can, And if you are not, you don't have nature at all, for any reason, it is also something very small to do, but just buying plants, it's already, it just changes a bit.
Okay, I love that. So you're just kind of beautifying your environment, and really, that sounds like that would be. I mean, that is peaceful just to be around a relaxing area. So now, from a food perspective, what are some things that people can do if they're just getting started?
So I will say consider the three things that I said to reduce, like depending on that person, whatever they feel that they can start with: alcohol or caffeine or sugar. I think just doing small steps for the bigger picture. So that's three main things that people can consider doing.
Okay, so yes, and those are big, especially with anxiety, with our busyness in the world. We're just tend to gravitate toward those three things sometimes. So, and just even minimizing those that's a great first step to really overcoming the anxiety and just moving toward a calmer life. Absolutely.
Yeah, and something also to consider if they are starting, their health journey and to reduce their anxiety, is try to look for the root cause with a health professional. So maybe some of the things that can be the root cause could be sleep disturbances. It could be not enough exercise, or overtraining, or it could be gut inflammation, or it can be pathologies that you have. So that's also something to keep in mind, because sometimes there is always a reason, right?
Sure, absolutely. So it could be, you're stressed because you're, with your job or something like that, and then that causes you to overeat, and then the whole domino effect. So
Yeah,
absolutely. So that's fantastic, and I love your journey and your continued journey as you seek to really maintain that balance of minimizing anxiety, maximizing joy, and focusing on your health with cooking and a little bit of baking sometimes. But that's fantastic. So,
thank you so much.
now, Patricia, how can people get in contact with you?
So I have my website, which is just my name, patriciabarray.com. And I'm also on Instagram with the same name, Patricia Barray. And I'm in Facebook as well. So they can just contact me if they want, or just have a look, and I'll be happy to be there in case they want additional support or information or tips or whatever.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we will include that in the show notes so people can access that for more information. And Patricia, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for all that you continue to do for yourself and your own health, as well as for your clients and for others around you. It's really super important. I'm really excited for how much you're helping people. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Michelle. It was a pleasure for me to be here.